We are back alphabetically. Number 2, the Atlanta Falcons. Quick announcement. Just join our Discord, link in the description. Get in there. Maybe we'll create some leagues with you all if we get enough people in there before the season starts. We'll also answer your questions. Another announcement. This is June 21st when we're recording this, so we're still a month away from training camp, 2.5 months away from the season. So just keep that in mind whenever you're watching this. We will do kind of a updated show at the end, September 1st or something, recapping what's changed. But we're talking about the Falcons today. We talked about the Cardinals already. Two very interesting teams to talk about. And it starts off with the quarterback, the new quarterback, Kirk Cousins. He'll be 36 this year. Coming off an Achilles injury. Is right now 111th overall, going in round 10 as QB 18. You see his numbers there. The dude's always at low end, QB1 points per game, total points. 2021, he was QB 12. 2022, QB 13. Last year, QB 7 before he got hurt. This is the type of player I like to go after for my quarterbacks. I don't like to take one in round 2, 3, 4. I like to wait all the way to round 10, 11, 12 and get Kirk Cousins, who's going to give me 18 points, 19 points a game, and I'd be stacked at another position. So I don't know if you feel the same, Dad, if you like this range for Cousins. Do you think it's going to go up as his season progresses and maybe we see him out there? Do you think this could potentially go up a little bit?
Go up? Yeah, I don't think there's – I think he was headed in that direction last year, when he got hurt. He was definitely a top 5 quarterback when he was first, was it 7 or 8 weeks of the season, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, I mean, I agree with, if he plops in your lap at round 10, I don't think there's a reason. I don't think the Achilles is going to be a problem. And, we'll see what happens in training camp as we get information out. He probably won't be playing in preseason or anything like that, but yeah, I can't believe, he's got the offense, they got the wide receivers, he should have the numbers, this 4,500 yards easy.
Yeah, and again, when you look at it, the reason why we say we like this range, it's like, okay, so you could take Mahomes in round 3. Let's just say, would you rather Mahomes and Cortland Sutton, or would you rather Cousins and Brandon Ayuk? And to me, it's Cousins and Brandon Ayuk, right? The difference between Cousins and Mahomes is going to make up, or the difference between Ayuk and Sutton is going to make up for, the difference between Mahomes and Cousins. So, yeah, I think we're in agreement here. There is that slight concern of the Achilles injury because we have 2 examples this year. We haven't seen quarterbacks this old come back from Achilles injuries, but they're not like running backs. They're not like receivers, and they're not even mobile quarterbacks, both Cousins and Rodgers. So they're kind of in the pocket guys. So I'm not too worried about it. I think he's already back throwing at OTAs anyway. So
he had video of him throwing at an indoor tennis court in April.
Yeah.
Just kind of, dropping back and throwing. I know that's not on a field and stuff like that. So I'm sure the guy, modern medicine and everything else, I'm sure he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I think he will. Now we got some stars to talk about. Bijan Robinson, 22 and a half years old, going 7th overall, kind of around the range he was going last year, a little bit later or a little bit earlier, I think. But going as the RB3 was disappointing last year, as you see 12.8 points per game, which was 17th overall. But there were 2 games. There's 2 games where he had one game where he had less than 1 point because he had the headache game, where he was supposed to not play, and he came in for like 1 snap at the end of the game. That was 0.3 points. And then he had another game where he had it was in the playoffs, minus 0.1. So I don't think that's going to happen again. If you take those 2 games out, he was actually closer to like 14 and a half points per game, which was top 10. Still had a good season, even though it felt disappointing. Like, you look at look at the raw numbers. You're like, oh yeah. He had 1,450 yards and 8 total touchdowns with almost 60 catches. Like, it just didn't feel that way, right? But
well, I think, yeah. I mean, last year it seems like that the stars, the planets, and the moon and everything was all lined up for Bijan Robinson to explode on his rookie year. The right coach, the right type of offense. This is the right guy, and I'm one of the guys who got suckered into taking him in the first round, and it was kind of disappointing. I know we were expecting some bigger games. I mean, 976 yards rushing. I mean, if that would have been 1,300 yards, I know that's another 500 yards. No one would be saying anything, So,
yeah.
Hopefully, you identified a couple games where he didn't play. So, he had a minimal impact. So, I mean,
yeah, he's going to get more carries. He had 215 carries last year. He's going to get way more than that. Maybe even if it's just 40 more carries and that's a couple hundred more yards, and we're talking about a much better season. So, I'm fine with where he's going. The debate really is like, do you take Breece Hall or Bijan if you want a running back in the first round? I don't think, you can argue either one. I don't think there's a wrong answer there. Just go with who you like a little bit more. But that's going to be, I guess, the big debate, because a lot of people are going to be sitting there at pick 6, 7, like, oh, I can take Breece Hall or I can take Bijan Robinson. And I don't think there's a wrong answer at all there. So not really much to talk about here. I think he's going to have a big year. They're already talking about using him like Christian McCaffrey. And remember, this offensive coordinator and they all come from the Rams system. So we know they know how to get their guys the ball. So, the offense should be better, some more touchdown opportunities. Even if he does last year, 1,500, 1,500 total yards with 50, 60 catches, he's probably going to have 4 or 5 more touchdowns. So, Algier, I mean, not a whole lot to talk about here. He's a handcuff. And that's how he's being drafted, round 14.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't even like that term handcuff, but this is a guy, I wouldn't have a problem. His first two years in the NFL, I'm sorry to steal your thunder there, Mike, but I mean, first year, his rookie year, he was 1,000-yard running back. And last year, you were just talking about Bijan, only having 214 carries. Well, Tyler Algier had 186.
Yeah,
that's a lot of carries for a backup running back. And his average is only 3.7, but definitely, yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, you basically touched on it. I do think those numbers are going to come down with his carries, and that's why he's being drafted a little bit more as just kind of a handcuff. And that's what he is. Like, I'm fine with grabbing him. I guess my only hesitation here, because when we draft backups, we want them to be the guys that if the number one goes down, he's going to come in and just take all the work that the number one has. That's probably the case with Algier, but there's a chance with the new coaching staff that it's not. So just throwing that out there, maybe they have another player like the rookie they drafted in Chase McClellan out of Alabama. Maybe they like him to take some work from Algier, and he's not the true workhorse, but nothing.
Yeah, I agree with he's probably not gonna have 186 carries. So
yeah, probably not. Probably maybe like 110, 115 or something.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that.
Now, Drake London is a big topic of conversation. Going to be 23 years old. He's going 18th overall, which is, again, mid to early second-round pick as the wide receiver 12. You see his numbers there. First 2 years, the guy's never averaged. He's never been in the top 40 in points per game, which is kind of crazy to think that. Which means we're expecting an enormous leap from Drake London. And I'm a little scared about it because for a couple of reasons. again, Drake London, I don't think he's had 900 yards receiving in his career. I understand bad quarterback and all that stuff, but what we're expecting is him to go from a 900-yard receiver, which he has been, to like a 14 or 1,500-yard receiver, from a 70-catch guy to a 90-catch guy, and from a 3-touchdown guy to an 8+ touchdown. Like, we're expecting huge increase, and we just haven't seen it, even with the bad quarterback play. And I think of two guys. I think of Garrett Wilson and George Pickens. Both those guys, if you actually go back and look at the Steelers' passing numbers, yards and touchdowns, the Jets' passing yards and touchdowns, and the Falcons are actually the best out of all three of those teams. And those two players at least did something a little bit more. Like Pickens had 1,100 yards receiving. Garrett Wilson caught 90 balls and 1,100 yards receiving. Like, whereas London didn't. So that's my only concern taking him this high, is we're expecting an enormous, like, again, even if he's an 1,100, 1,200 yard receiver with 80 catches, that's going to be a disappointment on where we're taking him. So I don't know if you're there, Dad, if you think he's going to get to those elite numbers, which he possibly could, but
no, I don't. I don't think so. I just, a previous team, we just talked about Marvin Harrison and what an expectation. I know there are difference in years and stuff like that, but so they're both drafted they were both going in the ADP in the second round. I don't know, man. I think I'd be taking Marvin Harrison over Drake London, but then you think, my God, now we got Kirk Cousins. Now we just tooted his horn pretty hard and stuff like that. So somebody on the Falcons, should be getting fat statistic wise in the passing game. Is it going to be Darnell Mooney? Is it going to be Pitts? But agreed. I don't think 1,400 yards receiving. That's a lot. And
yeah.
But I don't know.
He's not like his advanced metrics as well aren't that great. Like, he's not super explosive and stuff. I don't know. I'm just a little bit worried about this meteoric, because I think about it, and again, I think about this a lot with fantasy players. It's like, how much of his value is Kirk Cousins? It kind of reminds me a little bit of Garrett Wilson last year. Garrett Wilson was going right around this range because of Aaron Rodgers and less because of Garrett Wilson. And then Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, and Garrett Wilson was a bust for where he went. Kind of the same thing here. It's like, so much of, if Kirk Cousins wasn't on this team and it was just like someone else,
it'd be like
Drake, 5th, 6th round pick, Drake London.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about 3-4 rounds boost because of Kirk Cousins, not because of what Drake London's done. So I'm a little bit hesitant in that regard. Now, he could just be a monster, like, because we're going to talk about the second guy who's being drafted is Darnell Mooney. Like, I'm not worried about Darnell Mooney taking anything from Drake London. Like, there's not a whole lot of competition. I mean, the biggest is Kyle Pitts and Bijan, but we'll just throw Darnell Mooney out there. Like, again, he's kind of like a Michael Wilson, where he's basically free. End of the draft dart throw. If you think this offense is going to be better, we did see Darnell Mooney be 1,000-yard receiver in 2021, so maybe he can get a little bit back to that. But I don't know if there's anything else really.
Well, he had 140 targets. So that could be. You could change the name on that guy and throw him 140 balls. He probably should have those stats.
Yeah, for sure. And it wasn't even that impressive. Like, you look at in terms of fantasy, it was 10.5 half PPR points per game, wide receiver 34. So he was a wide receiver 3. So we don't need to talk about that. Kyle Pitts is it's Bijan, it's London, and Kyle Pitts, and of course Kirk Cousins. Which is funny because, like, you have London this high, you have Bijan this high, you have Kyle Pitts relatively high for a tight end, but Kirk Cousins is all the way down there at round 10, which, he's the one that has to get them all the ball. But Kyle Pitts, obviously been a disappointment the last 2 years. Still not even 24 years old. One of my favorite stats that I've thrown out on multiple videos is career catches before the age of 24. Kyle Pitts 149, Travis Kelce 0. Like Travis Kelce literally didn't catch a pass in the NFL until he was 25 years old. It didn't really become Kelce until he was like 27. It just shows you how young Kyle Pitts is. I think it's interesting though that London is being boosted 3-4 rounds, 5 rounds maybe. Kyle Pitts is not really getting that same boost. Maybe the boost is he would have been lower without Kirk Cousins, and so he just kind of maintained his spot. But this is, I think, the guy. If I had to choose between London in the second round, Kyle Pitts in the round 6, I'm taking Kyle Pitts. I don't know if you agree or disagree there, but what are your expectations for Kyle Pitts? Do you think he's going to get the Hawkinson type treatment?
Well, he should. I mean, if we just go back and look at his rookie year, he had 110 targets, caught 68 balls, but the biggest complaint in the fantasy world was, geez, he only had 1 touchdown. So he still is not, as 3 years, he still is at a total of 6 touchdowns. So if he had 60, 70 catches, let's say 75 catches this year, and he had 6 touchdowns, and I think that's going to change. This year, that's going to change everybody's point of view, and it should. And the guy's capable of it. His second year, I know he got hurt and stuff like that, but they weren't in that type of offense. The first 3 years that Pitts was there in Atlanta, to kind of showcase the guy, as much as they wanted or something.
Yeah.
As much as Arthur Smith. And don't forget, Arthur Smith is now Pittsburgh. So what's going to happen in Pittsburgh offensively? That's another story. But anyway,
Yeah, and I don't think he was completely healthy last year, Kyle Pitts. If you kind of just go back and watch him, he didn't look completely healthy with that knee injury that he had. So I think normally I like to wait a little bit longer on tight ends. Like if I don't get Travis Kelce, I want to wait till round 8, 9 to get my tight end, just because usually the guys in this range are not very different from the guys you get in round 9. But if Pitts does fall a little bit, like I'm there in the mid to late round 6 and he's sitting there, I'm going to think about taking him because I think he could be tight end 1 this year. And is it likely? No, but I think there's a possibility he is. So I'm getting that value in mid to late round 6. I'm going to take that. So I just think, again, that London gets this huge boost, but Drake London or Kyle Pitts doesn't. If they start using him like a tight end too, they use him like he has the most air yards and the highest ADOT. He's kind of used as just a receiver, down the field receiver. Use him as a tight end and see what he can do. So this is kind of the last year for him though. If he doesn't do it this year, it's kind of like what a bust he is, 4th overall pick.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
His draft position. Remember, I just go back to all the pre-draft hype and all the other stuff, and the highlights you've seen of him. Where did he play at Florida, I think? And it's like, my God, that guy looks like can't friggin' miss, and but sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yep. No one else really to talk about. I mean, Rondell Moore's there. I think he fits a role for the team, which is good for Cousins, but he's not anything for fantasy. There's a deep dynasty stash I would potentially throw out there, and that's Casey Washington. He was a 6th-round pick. He's kind of getting some hype in OTAs, and you go and watch some of his film at Illinois. It's like, it's kind of a fun little player. But the reason I bring that up is just because we just talked about it. Like Darnell Mooney and Rondell Moore are the wide receivers 2 and 3. If Casey Washington's even above average, he's going to take over Mooney's spot, unless Mooney is, better than what we think. But just someone throw out there, deep dynasty stash. So do they win the division, Dad, or did someone else win?
Oh my God. What are we Tennessee, Tampa?
No, Tampa,
New
Carolina,
Orleans,
and New Orleans. Yeah.
They could. Yeah. Everything, teams to win the division, man. There's just so many things that have to go right, injury wise, and you got to win some lucky games and stuff like that. So it very well could,
Yeah.
I know they drafted. They have a good offensive line, Atlanta. I know they're a little thin on defense. They drafted a lot of guys on defense. I think their defensive line is either a little older or younger or something. They got rid of. Oh, I know where they suck at. Pass rush.
Yeah.
I was listening to it on XM radio the other day. Yeah, they suck. They don't have any really, because they took. That's why everybody expected them to draft the Alabama guy, and they took Penix, Michael Penix.
Yeah.
Who's the Alabama pass rusher, edge guy?
I can't remember his name now, but they thought he was all. They're all going to go defense with Raheem Morris and
right.
Like
they
that.
took Penix, so they still have a pass rush problem, but anyway.
Yeah, they have. It's like they haven't had it was like since John Abraham they haven't had a legit pass rusher.
God, that's a while ago.
Dallas Turner was the
Dallas Turner. That's
that
the
guy. Yeah. But yeah, it's been the Bucs the last 3 years to win the division. The Saints 4 years in a row previously. So Falcons haven't won since 2016. So we'll see. But we will be back with the next video. I didn't have. Is it the Carolina Panthers that are next? I think the Carolina Panthers are next alphabetically. So, no, Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens are up next. So we'll be back with that video. We'll catch you guys.